My name is Delphine Marguerite Thornwell, and I am 73 years old. For 52 years, I thought I knew my husband. I thought I understood the man who slept beside me, who held my hand through childbirth, who promised me forever under a magnolia tree in Alabama back when we were both young and foolish and so desperately in love. But on the night of October 14, 2023, I discovered that you can share a bed with a stranger for half a century and never truly know the darkness that lives inside their heart. I live in a small town called Maplewood Springs, nestled in the rolling hills of Tennessee. It is the kind of place where everybody knows your name, where the pharmacist asks about your grandchildren, where Sunday mornings smell like fresh biscuits and the church bells ring so loud you can hear them from 3 miles away. My husband Clarence and I moved here 30 years ago when he retired from his job as an engineer. We bought a modest ranch house with white shutters and a wraparound porch where I planted roses every spring. We were living the American dream. Or so I believed. Our son Marcus was our only child. He came into this world on a winter morning in 1971, 3 weeks early and screaming like his lungs were on fire. He was my miracle baby. The doctors told me I might never conceive, but God had other plans. Marcus grew up to be everything a mother could hope for. Kind. Intelligent. Generous to a fault. He became a doctor, married a wonderful woman named Bethany, and gave us 2 beautiful grandchildren, Sienna and Joel. They lived just 40 minutes away in Nashville. Life was good. Life was perfect. Until it was not. Before I tell you what my husband did to me, before I tell you about the money and the lies and the unimaginable betrayal that shattered my world into a million pieces, I need you to understand something. I need you to know who I was before that terrible night. I was not some weak old woman who could be pushed around. I grew up poor in rural Mississippi, the youngest of 8 children. My father was a sharecropper who drank too much, and my mother cleaned houses for white families to keep food on our table. I learned early that life does not hand you anything. You fight for what you want, or you die trying. I put myself through nursing school by working 3 jobs. I met Clarence at a county fair in 1968. He was tall and handsome with kind brown eyes and a smile that made my stomach flip. We got married 6 months later in my mama's backyard with nothing but $20 between us and a future full of hope. We built a life together. Brick by brick. Dollar by dollar. We were partners. Best friends. Soulmates. Or so I thought. Now, before I take you deeper into this nightmare, I want to ask you something. If you are watching this story right now, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button below this video. Tap the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story like this one. These stories matter. Your support matters. And while you are at it, drop a comment and tell me what state you are watching from. Are you in California? Texas? New York? I want to know who is standing with me on this journey. Let me see those comments light up. Tell me where you are watching from. Because what I am about to tell you, what my husband did to me, it could happen to anyone. It could happen to your mother. Your grandmother. Your sister. This is not just my story. This is a story about trust and betrayal and what happens when the person you love most in the world becomes the person you recognize least. Now let me tell you what happened on that October night. It was 8:30 in the evening. Clarence and I had just finished dinner. Pot roast with carrots and potatoes, his favorite. We were sitting in the living room watching the news when his cell phone rang. He looked at the screen and his face went completely white. I mean ghost white. Like he had seen death itself calling his name. He stood up so fast he nearly knocked over his coffee. I will never forget what happened next. He answered the phone, walked into the kitchen, and I heard him say words that made my blood run cold. Our son died because of you, Delphine. This is all your fault. Everything is your fault. I sat frozen on that couch, unable to move, unable to breathe. What was he talking about? Marcus was alive. I had just spoken to him that morning. He called to tell me about Sienna's dance recital. We laughed. We made plans for Sunday dinner. Then Clarence walked back into the living room, and I saw something in his eyes I had never seen before. Rage. Pure, unfiltered rage. And something else. Guilt. Shame. Fear. What are you talking about? I whispered. Marcus is fine. I just talked to him this morning. Clarence stared at me like I was a stranger. Like I was his enemy. And then he said the words that destroyed me. You killed our boy. You and your selfishness. You and your pride. He died because of you, and I cannot look at you anymore. I cannot do this anymore. I tried to stand, tried to reach for him, but my legs would not work. Clarence, what are you saying? Marcus is not dead. Please, you are scaring me. He did not answer. Instead, he walked upstairs. I heard drawers opening and closing. Footsteps. Movement. And then he came back down carrying 2 suitcases. Where are you going? I asked, my voice shaking. He looked at me one last time, and I saw tears streaming down his face. But his voice was ice cold when he spoke. I am leaving you, Delphine. I am taking what I need and I am never coming back. You took everything from me. Now I am taking everything from you. And then he walked out the door. I sat there in shock for maybe 10 minutes before my brain started working again. I grabbed my phone and called Marcus. He answered on the second ring, alive and perfectly fine, asking if I was okay because I sounded upset. I hung up without explaining. Relief flooded through me. My son was alive. Clarence had lied. But why? Why would he say such a horrible thing? That is when I went upstairs to our bedroom and opened the closet safe where we kept our important documents. Birth certificates. Social security cards. The deed to the house. And our retirement savings. The safe was empty. $500,000. Gone. 52 years of marriage. Gone. The man I loved. Gone. But this story, this nightmare, was only just beginning. Because what I did not know that night, what I could not possibly have imagined, was that Clarence had been planning this for months. And the real reason he left, the truth behind his lies, was far darker and more twisted than I ever could have imagined. How far would you go to find the truth? How far would you go to get justice? I was about to find out. I did not sleep that night. How could I? I sat on the edge of my bed staring at that empty safe until the sun came up, my mind racing through 52 years of memories trying to find the clues I had missed. When had my husband become a stranger? When had he started planning to destroy me? At 6 a.m, I called my son Marcus. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. Mama, what's wrong? He asked immediately. Marcus always could read me like a book. Your father is gone, I said. My voice sounded hollow, like it belonged to someone else. He took all our money and left. There was a long silence on the other end. Then Marcus said something that made my stomach drop. I know. 2 words. Just 2 words. But they hit me like a freight train. You know? What do you mean you know? Marcus sighed, and I could hear the exhaustion in his voice. Daddy called me 3 days ago. He said he was leaving. He said he couldn't do it anymore. Mama, he told me not to tell you because he needed time to figure things out. I felt like the floor had opened up beneath me. And you didn't think to warn your own mother? You didn't think I deserved to know that my husband of 52 years was planning to abandon me and steal everything we had? He didn't tell me about the money, Marcus said quickly. I swear, Mama. He just said he needed space. He said you two had been having problems. Problems? What problems? We were fine. But even as I said it, I knew it was not entirely true. Clarence had been distant for the past 6 months. Quiet. He spent hours in his workshop in the garage doing God knows what. He stopped touching me. Stopped kissing me goodnight. When I asked him what was wrong, he always said the same thing. Nothing, Delphine. I'm just tired. I should have pushed harder. I should have demanded answers. But after 52 years of marriage, you get comfortable. You stop asking questions because you think you already know all the answers. Mama, I'm coming over, Marcus said. Don't do anything until I get there. But I was already moving. I hung up the phone and went downstairs to Clarence's workshop. He always kept it locked, said it was his private space where he could think and tinker with his old radios and woodworking projects. I had respected that boundary for 3 decades. Not anymore. I grabbed a hammer from the kitchen drawer and smashed the lock. The door swung open and I stepped inside, my heart pounding. What I found made me sick to my stomach. The workshop was not filled with woodworking tools or half-finished projects. Instead, there were stacks and stacks of papers. Bank statements. Credit card bills. Legal documents. I picked up the first piece of paper I saw. It was a bank statement from an account I had never heard of. An account in Clarence's name only. The balance showed $37,000. I grabbed another paper. A receipt from a jewelry store in Nashville dated 6 weeks ago. A diamond necklace. $4,000. I had not received a diamond necklace. My hands moved faster now, shuffling through the papers like a woman possessed. Hotel receipts. Restaurant bills. Flower deliveries. All of them from the past year. All of them expensive. All of them hidden from me. And then I found it. The thing that made everything click into place. A photograph. It was tucked inside a manila folder labeled Personal. I pulled it out and my breath caught in my throat. The photo showed Clarence standing on a beach somewhere tropical. He was smiling, his arm wrapped around a woman. She was young. Maybe 40 years old. Beautiful. Black hair. Dark eyes. Wearing a red sundress that showed off her figure. She was pregnant. Very, very pregnant. I turned the photo over. On the back, written in Clarence's handwriting, were 4 words that shattered what was left of my heart. Our new beginning. Marisol. I do not remember dropping the photograph. I do not remember falling to my knees on that cold concrete floor. But that is where Marcus found me 20 minutes later, surrounded by evidence of my husband's double life, holding that picture of a pregnant woman I had never met. Mama. Marcus rushed to my side and pulled me up. Mama, are you okay? I could not speak. I just handed him the photograph. His face went through about 10 different emotions in 5 seconds. Shock. Disbelief. Anger. And then something else. Something that looked almost like recognition. You knew about her, I said. It was not a question. Marcus closed his eyes. No. Not about her specifically. But Mama, I knew something was going on. Tell me everything. Right now. He helped me to my feet and we sat down on the dusty workbench. Marcus took a deep breath and started talking. About 8 months ago, Daddy asked me for money. $20,000. He said he had some unexpected medical bills and didn't want to worry you. I thought it was strange because you two always handled money together, but he's my father. I trusted him. So I gave it to him. I felt like I was going to be sick. What else? 3 months ago, he asked for another $15,000. Said the medical bills were worse than he thought. I started getting suspicious then, so I asked what was wrong. He got angry. Told me to mind my business. Told me he was my father and I needed to respect him. Marcus's voice cracked. I should have told you then. I'm so sorry, Mama. I reached over and squeezed his hand. My son was not the enemy here. Keep going. Last month, I saw him at a restaurant in Nashville. I was there for a medical conference. He was with a woman. A young, beautiful woman. They were holding hands across the table. When he saw me, he looked terrified. He followed me outside and begged me not to tell you. Said it was complicated. Said he would explain everything soon. Like a fool, I believed him. I stood up and started pacing. My mind was working overtime, putting pieces together. The money he took from our safe. $500,000. That was our entire retirement. Everything we saved for 52 years. He did not just leave me. He robbed me. Marcus pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police. No. The word came out harder than I intended. Not yet. Mama, he stole $500,000. That's a felony. I know what it is, Marcus. But I need to think. I need to understand what is happening here. I turned back to the pile of papers on the floor. Help me go through all of this. There has to be more. We spent the next 2 hours sorting through Clarence's secret files. What we found painted a picture of a man I did not recognize. He had opened 7 credit cards in his name only. All of them maxed out. Combined debt of over $90,000. He had taken out a second mortgage on our house without my knowledge. How was that even legal? But there it was. Documentation showing he had forged my signature. Another $120,000 gone. He had been sending wire transfers to someone named Marisol Esperanza Rodriguez in Miami, Florida. $2,000 a month for the past year. $24,000 total. He had purchased a condominium in Fort Lauderdale. Cash payment of $280,000. 3 bedrooms. Ocean view. The math was brutal. Between the stolen retirement money, the credit card debt, the second mortgage, the wire transfers, and the condo purchase, Clarence had burned through or stolen nearly $900,000. And I had not noticed a thing. How did I miss this? I whispered. How did I live with this man for 52 years and not see who he really was? Marcus put his arm around my shoulders. Because you loved him, Mama. Because you trusted him. That's not your fault. But it felt like my fault. It felt like I had been sleepwalking through my own life while my husband systematically destroyed everything we built together. Then Marcus found something that changed everything. It was a letter, dated 2 weeks ago, tucked inside a blue folder. The letterhead read, Henderson and Associates Family Law. It was a draft divorce petition. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was the section labeled, Grounds for Divorce. Clarence was planning to divorce me and claim I was mentally incompetent. Mentally incompetent. Those 2 words sat on that page like a death sentence. My husband of 52 years was not just planning to leave me and steal our money. He was planning to tell the world that I had lost my mind. That I was crazy. That I could not be trusted to make my own decisions. I grabbed the letter from Marcus and read it again, hoping I had misunderstood. But there it was in black and white, written in cold legal language that made my blood boil. Petitioner asserts that respondent Delphine Marguerite Thornwell suffers from progressive cognitive decline and dementia. Petitioner requests full control of marital assets due to respondent's inability to manage financial affairs. Petitioner seeks to be appointed legal guardian. This is insane, Marcus said. Mama, you are sharper than people half your age. There is nothing wrong with your mind. But I understood what Clarence was doing. If he could convince a judge that I was mentally incompetent, he could take everything. The house. The remaining assets. Everything in my name. And I would have no legal standing to fight back. I would be declared unfit. Powerless. Erased. It was the perfect crime. There's more, Marcus said quietly. He was holding another document. You need to see this. It was a medical report from Dr. Vincent Aldridge, a neurologist I had never heard of. According to the report, I had been evaluated 3 times over the past 4 months for memory loss, confusion, and erratic behavior. The doctor's conclusion recommended immediate intervention and possible placement in a memory care facility. I never saw this doctor, I said. I have never been to a neurologist in my life. This is fake. Clarence made this up. Marcus looked at the signature at the bottom of the page. Dr. Vincent Aldridge is a real doctor. He has an office in Nashville. But if you never saw him, then someone is lying. Either Daddy paid him to write a false report, or Daddy forged the whole thing. My hands were shaking with rage now. He was setting me up. 4 months. Maybe longer. He was building a case to have me declared incompetent so he could take everything and run off with his pregnant girlfriend. The betrayal was so deep, so complete, that I could barely breathe. This was not just about money. This was about erasing me. Making me disappear. Turning me into nothing. We are calling the police right now, Marcus said firmly. This is fraud. Forgery. Elder abuse. Daddy is going to prison for this. Wait. I held up my hand. My mind was racing. If we call the police now, what happens? Clarence is gone. He has the money. He is probably in Florida with that woman. By the time the police investigate and build a case, he could be anywhere. Mexico. South America. We might never see that money again. So what do you want to do? I looked at my son, and I felt something shift inside me. For 3 hours, I had been a victim. A foolish old woman who had been betrayed and robbed and humiliated. But I was not just a victim. I was Delphine Marguerite Thornwell. I was the daughter of a sharecropper who had fought her way out of poverty. I was a woman who had survived racism and hardship and loss. I had buried both my parents, 3 of my siblings, and more friends than I could count. I was a survivor. And I was not going to let Clarence Thornwell destroy me. I want to find him, I said. I want to look him in the eyes and hear him explain why he did this. And then I want to take back everything he stole from me. Marcus stared at me. Mama, are you sure about this? Maybe we should just let the lawyers handle it. Lawyers take time. Lawyers cost money I do not have anymore. No, baby. I am going to handle this myself. How? I picked up the photograph of Clarence and Marisol on the beach. I am going to Florida. I am going to find this woman. And I am going to find out the truth. Marcus opened his mouth to argue, but I cut him off. You can come with me or you can stay here. But I am going. Tomorrow. My son looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay, Mama. Let's go get your money back. What I did not know then, what I could not possibly have known, was that finding Clarence in Florida would be the easy part. The hard part would be learning why he really left. We left for Florida the next morning at dawn. Marcus drove while I sat in the passenger seat staring out the window, watching Tennessee fade into Georgia and then into the flat, endless highways of the Florida Panhandle. We did not talk much. What was there to say? My entire life had been built on a foundation of lies, and now I was driving toward the truth even though I was terrified of what I might find. The condominium Clarence had purchased was in Fort Lauderdale, in a building called Sunset Palms. According to the paperwork we found, it was Unit 412. Marcus had called ahead and confirmed that someone was living there. A woman had answered the intercom and said hello in a soft Spanish accent before Marcus hung up. Marisol. We arrived in Fort Lauderdale just after 6 in the evening. The sun was setting over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It would have been beautiful if my heart had not been breaking into 1,000 pieces. Sunset Palms was exactly the kind of place Clarence and I had dreamed about retiring to when we were young. A luxury high-rise right on the beach. Doorman. Valet parking. Palm trees swaying in the breeze. We used to talk about spending our golden years somewhere warm, walking on the beach every morning, watching the sunrise together. Instead, he had bought this paradise for another woman. We parked in the visitor lot and sat there for a moment. Marcus looked at me with worry in his eyes. Mama, are you ready for this? No. I was not ready. How could anyone be ready to confront their husband's pregnant mistress? But I nodded anyway. We walked into the lobby. The doorman smiled at us and asked who we were here to see. Unit 412, I said. My voice was steady even though my insides were churning. He picked up the phone and called up. 2 visitors for you, Miss Rodriguez. There was a pause. Then he nodded and hung up. She says to come on up. The elevator ride felt like it took a year. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure Marcus could hear it. When we reached the 4th floor, I stepped out and walked down the hallway like I was walking to my own execution. Unit 412 had a welcome mat that said, "Home Sweet Home," in cheerful yellow letters. I wanted to set it on fire. I knocked. The door opened, and there she was. Marisol. Even more beautiful in person than in the photograph. She was wearing a soft blue maternity dress, her belly round and full. She looked about 8 months pregnant. Her dark eyes went wide when she saw me. "Can I help you?" she asked. Her accent was thick but her English was clear. "My name is Delphine Thornwell," I said. "I am Clarence's wife." All the color drained from her face. "Oh my God. I think we need to talk. Don't you?" She stood there frozen for a moment, then stepped back and opened the door wider. "Please. Come in." The condo was gorgeous. Hardwood floors. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. Modern furniture that probably cost more than my first car. Everything was decorated in whites and blues, clean and fresh and new. This was supposed to be my retirement. My ocean view. My new beginning. Marisol sat down heavily on the couch, one hand on her belly. She looked like she might cry. "I did not know he was married," she said quietly. "I swear to God. I did not know." "How long have you known my husband?" 2 years. We met at a conference in Miami. He told me he was divorced. He said his wife had died 5 years ago from cancer. He showed me pictures of you and said you were his late wife. He said he was lonely and looking for a fresh start. I felt like I had been slapped. Clarence had killed me off. In his version of the story, I was already dead. "When did you find out he was lying?" Marcus asked. Marisol looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. 3 days ago. When he showed up at my door with suitcases and told me the truth. He said he had finally left you. He said we could be together now. He said everything was going to be okay. "Where is he?" I asked. She wiped her eyes. "He is not here." "Where is he, Marisol?" She hesitated, then whispered the words that made my blood run cold. "He is in the hospital. They think he is dying." The room started spinning. I reached for the wall to steady myself. Dying. Clarence was dying. The man I had loved for 52 years, the man who had betrayed me and stolen from me and tried to erase me, was in a hospital bed somewhere fighting for his life. I did not know what to feel. Rage. Grief. Confusion. All of it crashed over me like a wave. "What hospital?" Marcus asked. "Mercy General. About 10 minutes from here." Marisol stood up slowly, her hand still on her belly. "He collapsed 4 days ago. Right here in this living room." He was clutching his chest, could not breathe. I called 911. They said it was his heart. His heart. The irony was almost laughable. The man who had no heart left for me was dying because his actual heart was giving out. "The doctors say he needs surgery," Marisol continued. "Triple bypass. But there are complications. His kidneys are failing. His liver is damaged. They are not sure he will survive the operation." "How long has he been sick?" I asked quietly. "I do not know. He never told me he was sick. But now the doctors are saying he has been having symptoms for at least a year. Maybe longer. High blood pressure. Chest pain. Shortness of breath. He never went to the doctor. He just ignored it. A year. Clarence had been sick for a year and he never told me. His wife. The woman who had taken care of him through every cold and flu and broken bone for 5 decades. He had hidden his illness just like he had hidden everything else. I need to see him, I said. Marisol looked surprised. You want to see him? After everything he did to you? Yes. I did not know why. Maybe I needed to see with my own eyes that this was real. Maybe I needed to hear him admit what he had done. Maybe I just needed closure. But I had to see him. I will take you, Marisol said. She grabbed her purse and her keys. I had been staying at the hospital most days anyway. The drive to Mercy General was silent except for the sound of Marisol sniffling in the back seat. Marcus kept looking at me like he was worried I might fall apart at any moment. But I felt strangely calm. Like I was watching this happen to someone else. We parked in the hospital garage and took the elevator to the cardiac intensive care unit on the 5th floor. The smell of antiseptic and sickness filled my nose. I had worked as a nurse for 30 years. I knew this smell. I knew what it meant. Marisol led us down a long hallway to room 517. She stopped outside the door. He is sleeping most of the time, she said softly. The medication makes him very tired. But sometimes he wakes up and talks a little. Does he know we are coming? Marcus asked. She shook her head. No. I did not tell him you found me. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door. The man in the hospital bed did not look like my Clarence. He looked small. Fragile. His skin was gray and his cheeks were sunken. Tubes and wires connected him to machines that beeped and hummed. An oxygen mask covered his nose and mouth. His eyes were closed. I walked closer and stood at the foot of his bed. This man had been my everything. My lover. My partner. My best friend. And he had destroyed me without a second thought. Clarence, I said quietly. His eyes fluttered open. It took him a moment to focus. When he saw me standing there, his whole body jerked. His eyes went wide with shock. He tried to sit up but he was too weak. He pulled the oxygen mask off his face with a shaking hand. Delphine, he whispered. His voice was raspy and broken. What are you doing here? I came to ask you one question, I said. My voice was ice cold. Why? Why did you do this to me? He stared at me for a long moment. Tears started running down his face. Because I was dying, he said. And I did not want you to watch me die. The machines beeped. The room was silent except for his labored breathing. And then he said the words that changed everything. I did it to protect you, Delphine. All of it. I did it all to protect you. Protect me. Those words hung in the air like poison. Clarence thought that stealing $500,000, having an affair, trying to have me declared mentally incompetent, and abandoning me after 52 years of marriage was protecting me. I laughed. I could not help it. The sound came out harsh and bitter. Protect me? You think you were protecting me? Clarence closed his eyes, tears still streaming down his face. Let me explain. Please. You have 5 minutes, I said. And it better be the truth. He took a shaky breath. 2 years ago, I went to the doctor for a routine checkup. I had been having chest pains. Trouble breathing. I thought it was nothing. Just getting old. He coughed, and the machine started beeping faster. The doctor ran tests. Lots of tests. And then he told me I had congestive heart failure. Advanced stage. He said I had maybe 2 years left. 3 if I was lucky. Marcus stepped forward. Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you tell Mama? Because I knew what would happen, Clarence said, looking at me. You would have spent the next 2 years taking care of me. Watching me get weaker. Watching me die inch by inch. You already did that with your mother. And your sister Patricia. I watched it destroy you both times. I could not do that to you again. So you decided to break my heart instead? I said. My voice was shaking now. You decided to make me think you stopped loving me? I thought it would be easier. I thought if you hated me, if you were angry at me, you would not grieve so hard when I was gone. Anger is better than sadness, Delphine. Anger keeps you strong. What about the money? Marcus demanded. What about stealing $900,000 from my mother? How was that protecting her? Clarence looked ashamed now. The medical bills were crushing me. The treatments. The medications. None of it was covered by insurance because I waited too long to get help. I took out credit cards. A second mortgage. I drained our savings account little by little. I thought I could fix it before you noticed. But it just kept getting worse. And Marisol? I asked. The name tasted like acid in my mouth. He glanced toward the door where Marisol was standing with her head down. I met her at a medical conference. She was a translator working the event. She was kind to me. We started talking. I told her I was alone in the world. I created this whole fantasy where I was a widower starting over. It felt good to be someone new. Someone who was not dying. Someone who still had a future. You got her pregnant, I said flatly. That was not supposed to happen. I swear. When she told me, I panicked. I knew I had to make a choice. Either tell you everything and break your heart, or commit to this new life and give Marisol and the baby financial security before I died. So you chose to steal from me and frame me as mentally incompetent? That was your solution? Clarence's face crumpled. I was desperate. I needed money for the condo. Money for Marisol. Money for the baby's future. And I needed to make sure you could not fight me in court when I filed for divorce. I know it sounds horrible. I know I am a monster. But I was running out of time and running out of options, and I just kept making worse and worse decisions. You had Dr. Aldridge write a fake medical report about me, I said. You were going to have me locked away. No. Clarence said, trying to sit up again. I would never have gone through with that. I just needed the paperwork to scare you. To make you think I had leverage. I thought if you believed I could have you declared incompetent, you would just let me go quietly. Take the divorce. Move on with your life. I stared at this man I did not recognize anymore. Did you ever really love me, Clarence? Or was our whole marriage a lie? His eyes met mine, and I saw genuine pain there. I loved you more than life itself. I still love you. That is why I had to leave. Because loving you and dying slowly in front of you would have killed us both. The room was silent except for the beeping machines. Then Marisol spoke from the doorway, her voice small and broken. There is something else you should know. Something Clarence has not told you yet. Clarence's face went white. Marisol, do not. She deserves to know the truth. All of it. I turned to look at her. What truth? Marisol walked into the room, tears running down her face, and said the words that made my entire world shift again. The baby I am carrying. It is not Clarence's child. The words hung in the air like a bomb that had just exploded. The baby was not Clarence's. I looked at Marisol, then at Clarence, then back at Marisol, trying to make sense of what I had just heard. What are you talking about? I asked. Marisol sat down in the chair next to Clarence's bed, her hands folded over her belly. I met Clarence 2 years ago, like he said. We became close friends. He was kind to me. He helped me with money when I needed it. He treated me like family. But we were never romantic. Never intimate. I have a boyfriend. His name is Raphael. He is the father of this baby. I turned to Clarence. So you were not having an affair? No, he whispered. I lied about that too. I needed you to hate me, Delphine. I needed you to have a reason to let me go without fighting. So I created this whole story. The affair. The love child. All of it was made up to make you despise me. My head was spinning. But the photograph. You and Marisol on the beach. You had your arm around her. That was in Key West last year, Marisol said. Clarence helped me pay for a vacation after my mother died. He came with me because I did not want to be alone. We were friends. Just friends. Nothing more. The condo, Marcus said. Why did you buy her a condo? Clarence coughed again, his breathing labored. Marisol was living in a terrible apartment. Roaches. Mold. No air conditioning. She was pregnant and working 2 jobs just to pay rent. I had money from the second mortgage and I knew I was dying. I thought, why not use it to help someone who actually needed it? Why not do one good thing before I leave this world? So you bought her a home, I said slowly. And you sent her money every month to help with expenses. Yes. I looked at Marisol. Did you know he was married? Not until 3 days ago when he showed up with his suitcases, she said, crying harder now. I swear on my baby's life. He told me his wife had died. He showed me pictures and told me stories about you. About how much he loved you. How much he missed you. I thought I was helping a lonely widower find purpose again. And when you found out the truth? I told him to leave. I told him he was a liar and a coward. I told him to go back to you and tell you everything. But then he collapsed. And the ambulance came. And I have been here ever since because despite everything, he is my friend. He saved me when I had no one else. I sank into the chair on the other side of Clarence's bed. My mind was racing through everything I had learned. Clarence was not having an affair. The baby was not his. He had spent money helping a struggling young woman instead of using it on a mistress. But he had still stolen from me. Still lied to me. Still tried to have me declared incompetent. Still abandoned me. Why not just tell me you were dying? I asked Clarence. Why all these lies? Why all this cruelty? Because I am a coward, he said simply. I was terrified of dying. Terrified of being weak. Terrified of becoming a burden. And I was ashamed. Ashamed that I had hidden my illness so long that it got this bad. Ashamed that I had destroyed our finances trying to fix it. I kept thinking I could make it all better before you found out. But it just got worse and worse. And then I was in too deep. I had lied so much I did not know how to tell you the truth anymore. So you just kept lying. Yes. I looked at this broken man in the hospital bed. Part of me wanted to scream at him. Part of me wanted to walk out and never look back. But part of me, a part one hated to admit existed, still loved him. Still remembered the good man he used to be. The doctors say you need surgery, I said. Triple bypass. I am not doing it. What? Clarence turned his head to look at me fully. I am 76 years old. My heart is failing. My kidneys are shutting down. Even if I survive the surgery, I will spend the rest of my life hooked up to machines. That is no way to live. I am ready to go, Delphine. I am ready to face whatever comes next. You are just going to give up. After everything you put me through, you are just going to die and leave me to clean up your mess? I am sorry, he whispered. For all of it. I am so sorry. Marcus stepped forward. Mama, can I talk to you outside? We walked into the hallway. Marcus closed the door behind us. What are you thinking? He asked. I do not know what I am thinking. My husband is dying. He stole from me, but he was not cheating on me. He tried to destroy me, but he thought he was protecting me. I do not know whether to forgive him or curse him. Marcus took my hands. You do not have to decide right now. But Mama, there is something you need to know. What? I looked into Dr. Aldridge while we were driving down here. The neurologist who wrote that fake report about you. And? He is under investigation for medical fraud. He has been writing fake evaluations for a fee. Mostly for people trying to gain control of elderly relatives' estates. The medical board is building a case against him. My eyes widened. So Clarence paid him to write that report. Probably. Which means we can prove it was fraudulent. Which means we can fight the competency claim if it ever goes to court. I leaned against the wall, exhausted. What do I do, Marcus? Do I let him die alone? Do I stay and forgive him? Do I walk away and let him face the consequences of his choices? Marcus looked at me with love and sadness in his eyes. Only you can answer that, Mama. But whatever you decide, I will support you. I stood there in that hospital hallway, facing the hardest decision of my life, when a nurse came running down the corridor shouting words that made my heart stop. Code Blue. Room 517. Code Blue. Clarence was crashing. I ran. I do not remember making the decision to move, but suddenly my legs were carrying me back toward room 517. Nurses and doctors were rushing in with crash carts and machines. Alarms were screaming. Someone was shouting orders about medications and voltage levels. Marcus grabbed my arm. Mama, you cannot go in there right now. That is my husband. I pulled away from him and pushed through the door. The scene inside was chaos. Clarence's body was jerking on the bed. The monitors showed a flat line, then wild spikes, then nothing. A doctor was doing chest compressions while a nurse squeezed a bag to push air into his lungs. Another nurse was injecting something into his foreline. Clear, the doctor shouted. Everyone stepped back. Clarence's body arched off the bed as the electricity hit his chest. The monitor beeped once. Twice. Then flatlined again. Again. Charging to 300. I stood frozen in the corner watching the man I had loved for 52 years die right in front of me. And in that moment, with his life hanging by a thread, something inside me broke open. I was angry. God, I was so angry at him. For lying. For stealing. For trying to erase me. For making me believe he had stopped loving me when the truth was he loved me so much he destroyed both our lives trying to spare me pain. But I also understood something I had not understood before. Clarence was not a villain. He was a terrified old man who made terrible choices because he did not know how to ask for help. He was proud and stubborn and foolish, just like I had been proud and stubborn and foolish plenty of times in our marriage. We were both broken people who had somehow made a life together despite our brokenness. And now he was dying, and I had a choice to make. I could let my anger win. I could walk out of this room and let him die alone, surrounded by strangers. I could make him pay for every lie, every betrayal, every moment of pain he had caused me. Or I could remember that love is not just about the good times. Love is also about standing beside someone in their darkest hour, even when they do not deserve it. Especially when they do not deserve it. Clear. Another shock. Another flat line. I pushed past the nurses and grabbed Clarence's hand. It was cold and limp. Do not you dare die on me, Clarence Thornwell, I said, my voice breaking. Do not you dare leave me like this. Not after 52 years. Not after everything we have been through. You fight. Do you hear me? You fight. The doctor looked at me. Ma'am, you need to step back. No. I am his wife and I am staying right here. Clear. This time, when the electricity hit his chest, the monitor beeped. Once. Twice. 3 times. A rhythm. Weak and irregular, but a rhythm. We have a pulse, the nurse shouted. The doctor kept working, adjusting medications, barking orders. Slowly, minute by minute, Clarence's vital signs stabilized. His breathing evened out. The color started coming back to his face. After what felt like hours but was probably only 10 minutes, the doctor stepped back and wiped sweat from his forehead. "He is stable for now," he said. "But he is not out of danger. The next 24 hours are critical. If he crashes again, I do not know if we can bring him back." I nodded, still holding Clarence's hand. The medical team filed out, leaving me alone with my unconscious husband. Marcus and Marisol stood in the doorway, watching. I sat down in the chair beside the bed and looked at Clarence's face. Even unconscious, even dying, he was still the man I had fallen in love with all those years ago at that county fair in Mississippi. Still the man who had held me when I cried. Still the man who had danced with me in our kitchen on Sunday mornings. Still the man who had built a life with me, brick by brick, dollar by dollar. He was flawed. He was human. He had hurt me worse than anyone had ever hurt me. But he was mine. I leaned forward and whispered in his ear. "I am here, Clarence. And I am not leaving. You hear me? I am not going anywhere." His fingers twitched in my hand. Just barely. But I felt it. And then, so quietly I almost missed it, he whispered one word. "Sorry." I sat back, tears streaming down my face. The door opened behind me. A different doctor walked in, one I had not seen before. She was young, maybe 40, with kind eyes and a serious expression. "Mrs. Thornwell? I am Dr. Amara Chen. I have been reviewing your husband's charts. There is something you need to know about his condition. Something the other doctors might not have told you yet." My stomach dropped. "What is it?" She hesitated, then said the words that changed everything one final time. "Your husband's heart failure was not natural. Someone has been poisoning him." Retry. Poisoning. The word echoed in my head like a gunshot. I stared at Dr. Chen, unable to process what she had just said. "What do you mean poisoning?" Marcus stepped into the room, his face pale. Dr. Chen pulled up a chair and sat down across from me. "When your husband was admitted, we ran a full toxicology panel as part of our standard protocol for heart failure patients. The results came back this morning. He has extremely high levels of digoxin in his system. Digoxin is a heart medication, but in high doses it becomes toxic. It causes irregular heartbeat, nausea, confusion, and eventually heart failure." "But why would someone poison him?" I asked. "That is what we need to figure out. Was your husband taking digoxin as a prescribed medication?" I shook my head. "Not that I know of. He never told me about any heart medications. But then again, he hid his whole diagnosis from me, so I cannot be sure." Dr. Chen pulled out a tablet and showed me a chart. According to his medical records, he was never prescribed digoxin. Which means either he was taking it without a prescription, or someone was giving it to him without his knowledge. My mind was racing. Who would poison Clarence? And why? Then a terrible thought hit me. How long has this been going on? I asked. How long has he been ingesting this poison? Dr. Chen looked at the chart. Based on the levels in his system and the progression of his symptoms, I would estimate at least 8 to 12 months. Probably longer. 8 to 12 months. That was right around the time Clarence started acting strange. Right around the time he became distant and secretive. Right around the time he started making terrible decisions. Wait, Marcus said. Could the poison have affected his judgment? Could it have made him act irrationally? Absolutely, Dr. Chen said. Digoxin toxicity causes confusion, paranoia, depression, and impaired decision-making. If someone has been poisoning your husband for a year, it could definitely explain erratic behavior. I sat back in my chair, my whole body shaking. So the lies. The stealing. The affair that was not really an affair. All of it could have been because someone was poisoning him. It is possible. The poison would not make him do those things, but it could have clouded his judgment enough to make very poor choices seem reasonable to him. Who would do this? I whispered. Who would poison my husband? We all stood there in silence for a moment. Then Marisol spoke from the doorway. Her voice was small and frightened. I think I know. We all turned to look at her. There is a man, she said slowly. His name is Vincent. Vincent Aldridge. My blood ran cold. The neurologist? The one who wrote the fake report about me? Marisol nodded. He has been coming to the condo. 4 months. He told me he was Clarence's doctor and he was checking on him. He would bring medications and vitamins. He said Clarence needed to take them for his heart condition. I trusted him because he was a doctor. Oh my God, Marcus said. Aldridge was poisoning him. Dr. Chen's face was grim. If this doctor was providing unmarked medications and supplements, he could easily have been adding digoxin to them. Slow poisoning over time. The victim would not even know. But why? I asked. Why would a doctor poison his patient? Marcus pulled out his phone and started searching. After a minute, his face went white. Mama, look at this. He showed me an article from a Miami news website dated 3 weeks ago. The headline read, Prominent Neurologist Under Investigation for Elder Fraud Scheme. I read quickly. Dr. Vincent Aldridge was being investigated for a complex fraud operation. He would target wealthy elderly patients, slowly poison them to cause cognitive decline, then offer to write medical evaluations declaring them mentally incompetent. Family members or associates would then use those evaluations to gain control of the victim's assets. Aldridge would get a percentage of the stolen money. He was using Clarence, I said. He poisoned him to make him confused and paranoid. Then he wrote a fake evaluation saying I was incompetent so Clarence would think he needed to protect our money from me. He manipulated Clarence into stealing our own money. And then Aldridge was probably planning to steal it from Clarence, Marcus added. Once Clarence was weak enough or died, Aldridge would find a way to take everything. Marisol was crying now. I am so sorry. I let him into the condo. I gave Clarence the pills. I did not know. I swear I did not know. I stood up and walked over to her. This is not your fault. You were trying to help. We were all manipulated by this monster. Dr. Chen stood as well. I need to call the police immediately. This is attempted murder. And if there are other victims, we need to stop him before he hurts anyone else. Wait, I said. If Aldridge finds out we know, he might run. He might destroy evidence. We need to be smart about this. Marcus looked at me. What are you thinking, Mama? I thought about everything Clarence and I had lost. Our money. Our trust. Almost our lives. And I thought about all the other elderly people out there who might be next. Who might be getting poisoned and manipulated right now. I am thinking we set a trap, I said. Over the next hour, we worked with Dr. Chen and 2 detectives who came to the hospital. We created a plan. I would call Dr. Aldridge and tell him I wanted to talk about Clarence's care. I would pretend I did not know about the poisoning. I would ask him to meet me at the condo tomorrow to discuss treatment options. The police would be waiting. The next day, I sat in Marisol's living room with a recording device hidden in my purse. Marcus and 2 police officers were in the bedroom listening. Marisol had taken a taxi to stay with a friend so she would not be involved. At exactly 2 o'clock, there was a knock on the door. I opened it. Dr. Vincent Aldridge stood there with his medical bag and his fake smile. Mrs. Thornwell, he said smoothly. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. I understand you have questions about your husband's condition. Please, come in. He sat down on the couch. I sat across from him, my heart pounding but my face calm. I have been reviewing Clarence's medical history, I said. And I am confused about something. He was never diagnosed with a heart condition before 2 years ago, correct? That is correct. So how did he deteriorate so quickly? How did a healthy 76-year-old man go from fine to dying in just 2 years? Aldridge shifted in his seat. Sometimes these things progress rapidly, especially if the patient does not follow medical advice. What medications was he taking? The standard protocol. Beta blockers. Blood thinners. Some supplements to support heart function. What kind of supplements? His eyes narrowed slightly. Why are you asking all these questions, Mrs. Thornwell? Because I think you poisoned my husband. The room went completely silent. Aldridge's face went pale, then red. That is a very serious accusation, he said coldly. Digoxin, I said. You have been giving him digoxin for over a year. Slowly poisoning him. Making him sick. Making him confused. So you could manipulate him into giving you access to our money. Aldridge stood up. I do not have to listen to this. Sit down, Dr. Aldridge. The bedroom door opened. The 2 police officers walked out. Dr. Vincent Aldridge, one of them said, you are under arrest for attempted murder, elder abuse, fraud, and medical malpractice. I watched as they handcuffed him. Watched as they read him his rights. Watched as the man who had tried to destroy my family was led away in handcuffs. It was over. 3 months later, I sat on the porch of our house in Maplewood Springs watching the sun set over the Tennessee hills. Clarence was beside me in a wheelchair, wrapped in a blanket. He was alive. Barely. The damage to his heart was severe, but once the digoxin was out of his system, he improved enough to come home. We had our money back. Most of it anyway. The police had tracked down Aldridge's accounts and recovered $400,000. The rest was gone, but we would survive. Dr. Aldridge was awaiting trial on multiple counts. The investigation had uncovered 17 other victims. 17 other families he had destroyed. But not anymore. Clarence reached over and took my hand. I do not deserve your forgiveness, he said quietly. No, I agreed. You do not. But I am giving it to you anyway. Not because you earned it. But because I am choosing love over hate. I am choosing to spend whatever time we have left together instead of apart. I love you, Delphine. I know you do. And I love you too. Even though you are a foolish, stubborn, impossible man. He smiled. It was weak, but it was real. Marisol had her baby 3 weeks ago. A beautiful little girl named Sophia. Clarence and I went to visit them in the hospital. Marisol's boyfriend Raphael was there, proud and beaming. They thanked us for everything. For believing in Marisol. For not blaming her. I told her the condo was hers. A gift. She cried and tried to refuse, but I insisted. We did not need it. And she did. As I sit here now, looking at the man I married 52 years ago, I realize something important. Marriage is not about perfection. It is not about never making mistakes. It is about choosing to stand together even when everything falls apart. It is about forgiveness when forgiveness seems impossible. It is about love that is stronger than betrayal. I am Delphine Marguerite Thornwell. I am 73 years old. And I survived the worst year of my life. I am still standing. And I am not done yet. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel something deep inside, please hit that like button below. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss another powerful story. And leave a comment telling me what you think. Have you ever had to forgive someone who hurt you? Have you ever faced betrayal and found the strength to move forward? I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments section. Your story matters. Your voice matters. And together, we can remind each other that no matter how dark things get, there is always hope. There is always a way forward. There is always strength inside us we did not know we had. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And remember, you are stronger than you think you are. Until next time, keep fighting. Keep loving. Keep living.